They called me the coffee girl, but I was actually sent to audit their department. They thought I was there to serve coffee. I was actually there to serve justice. It was my first day walking into the marketing department, and I had my tablet tucked under one arm and a notebook in the other. I'd prepared for this moment for 2 weeks. The team lead, Kyle, sat at the biggest desk near the window. He didn't even look up when I approached. Coffee. 2 sugars. And get one for the team, he said, still staring at his computer screen. I smiled and pulled out my employee badge, the one that said Corporate Analysis Division. I don't work for you, I said politely. He finally looked up. His eyes scanned me from head to toe, and then he laughed, not a friendly laugh, but the kind that makes your skin crawl. Sure you don't, sweetheart, he said, leaning back in his chair. His buddy at the next desk started chuckling too. Kyle pointed toward the break room. Coffee. Now. The entire office was watching, waiting to see what I would do. I had a choice to make, and I made it fast. I walked to the break room with my head high. The coffee machine was old and loud, but it worked. I made Kyle's coffee exactly how he wanted it, 2 sugars, no cream. Then I made cups for the rest of the team, balancing them on a small tray I found in the cabinet. When I delivered Kyle's coffee, he didn't say thank you. He just high-fived his buddy and said, "See? She gets it." I smiled again and set the cup down gently on his desk. That's when I saw them, expense reports scattered across his workspace. I'd memorized the numbers from the pre-audit brief corporate had given me. These numbers didn't match. Not even close. While Kyle was distracted, bragging to his friend about some weekend trip, I pulled out my phone. I angled it carefully and took 3 quick photos of the documents on his desk. Need anything else? I asked sweetly. He waved me away without looking. I walked back to my temporary desk, my heart pounding. The game had begun. 2 weeks earlier, I'd been sitting in a conference room at corporate headquarters. The walls were glass, and you could see the entire city from the 23rd floor. My supervisor, Mr. Torres, sat across from me with a thick folder. "We need someone invisible," he said, sliding the folder toward me. "Marketing Department, Western Region. Their numbers are off by $500,000. We think it's internal theft, but we need proof." I opened the folder. Financial statements, vendor lists, employee records. Why me? I asked, though I already knew. "You're a forensic accountant. Top of your division," he said. "But more importantly, you're young. You look like an intern. People will underestimate you." I nodded slowly. "What's my cover?" "Temporary administrative assistant. You'll have access to files, expenses, daily operations." He leaned forward. "No one can know your real purpose. Not even the local HR department." "When do I start?" I asked. He smiled. "Monday." That was yesterday. By day 3, I'd become invisible. That's exactly what I wanted. I organized files in the corner, made coffee runs, and kept my head down. The team talked around me like I was furniture. Kyle was the worst. He spoke loudly, bragged constantly, and treated everyone below him like servants. During lunch, while I was sorting papers in the break room, I heard him talking to 2 other managers. "My consulting side gig is brilliant," he said. "I use our company vendors. They bill us, I bill them. Everyone's happy." The others laughed nervously. But Mia, his assistant, didn't laugh. She stood by the microwave, stirring her soup slowly, her face tight with discomfort. I kept my eyes on my papers, but my ears were wide open. Kyle kept talking, explaining how easy it was to manipulate the system. Then Mia glanced my way. Our eyes met for just a second. She mouthed 2 words, "Be careful." Then she walked out quickly, leaving her soup behind. My stomach twisted. She knew something. That night, I stayed late in the office, something temps rarely do, which made it perfect. I had access to the vendor database, and I started comparing invoices to actual deliverables. 3 companies kept appearing: Apex Solutions, Cornerstone Media, and Brightwave Consulting. They billed monthly like clockwork. Big amounts too, 15,000, 20,000, sometimes 30,000 per invoice. I searched for their websites. Nothing. No online presence at all. I dug deeper into the invoices and found addresses. All three companies were registered to P.O. boxes. I cross-referenced the zip codes. My breath caught. Same zip code as Kyle's home address. Then I found the signature on one invoice. K. Morrison Consulting, authorized representative. I pulled up Kyle's employee file. His full name was Kyle Morrison Hayes. Morrison was his middle name. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a moment to like this story and also hit the subscribe button to get notified of our new series. I took screenshots of everything and uploaded them to my secure cloud. This was bigger than I'd thought. The next morning, Kyle handed me a stack of papers. Make copies of these. And don't look at them. They're confidential. Of course, that made me want to look even more. I walked to the copy room, which was tucked away in a quiet corner of the floor. I closed the door and locked it. Then I opened the stack. Contract documents. Partnership agreements. Marketing budget allocations. One document stopped me cold. It was a contract splitting a $90,000 marketing package between our company and a vendor I'd never seen in the system, Silver Lake Partners. I had 10 minutes alone with these documents. I pulled out my phone and used a scanning app, uploading each page directly to my encrypted cloud storage. Then I made the copies exactly as Kyle requested, put everything back in order, and returned to his desk. All done, I said, handing him the stack. He barely glanced at me. Good girl. I went back to my desk, my hands shaking slightly.
$92,000.
Ghost vendors. Fake contracts. This was fraud. I needed digital evidence. Paper trails were good, but files on his computer would seal the case. I just needed access. The opportunity came 2 days later. I brought Kyle his afternoon coffee. He'd started expecting it and accidentally bumped the cup. Coffee splashed across his desk, missing his keyboard by inches, but soaking a stack of papers. Are you kidding me? He shouted, jumping up. I'm so sorry. I grabbed napkins from my desk and started dabbing at the spill. I'll get paper towels. He rushed toward the break room, cursing under his breath. The moment he was gone, I pulled a small USB drive from my pocket, one corporate had given me with remote cloning software. I plugged it into his computer. The screen flickered. A small window appeared. Cloning active files. 30 seconds. I counted in my head. 20 seconds. 15.
10.
Kyle's voice echoed from the hallway. He was coming back. 5 seconds.
3. 2.
The window closed. I yanked the USB out and slipped it into my pocket just as Kyle rounded the corner with a roll of paper towels. His screen flickered once more. Did you touch something? He asked, staring at his computer suspiciously. No, I said innocently. I was just cleaning. He narrowed his eyes but said nothing. That evening, I was walking to my car in the parking garage when I heard footsteps behind me.
Fast footsteps.
I turned. It was Mia. Wait, she said, slightly out of breath. She looked around nervously, making sure we were alone. You're not really a temp, are you? My training kicked in. Stay in character. Never break cover. What do you mean? I asked, keeping my voice confused. She stared at me for a long moment, then reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive. He's been doing this for 2 years. I kept copies of everything. Emails, contracts, approvals. Her hands were trembling. I was too scared to report it. He has connections. He threatened the last person who questioned him. I took the flash drive carefully. Why are you giving this to me? Because you're different, she whispered. You're not scared of him, and I think you're here to stop him. She didn't wait for me to respond. She just turned and walked quickly toward her car. I stood there holding the flash drive, my heart racing. She'd just handed me the keys to everything. I went straight home and plugged Mia's flash drive into my laptop. My hands were shaking as the files loaded. There were dozens of folders. Hundreds of documents. I opened the first one, forged approval signatures. The second, kickback agreements with vendors, explicitly stating how much money Kyle would receive per transaction. Then I found the email chains. Kyle threatening employees who asked too many questions. Kyle instructing vendors to inflate invoices. Kyle coordinating with his friend Jason to hide discrepancies. But the most damaging file was a voice memo recorded accidentally during a phone call. Kyle's voice was crystal clear. "Corporate's too stupid to check. Just bill it under consulting services, and I'll approve it on my end. We'll split it 60-40. I listened to it 3 times, my anger building with each replay. The last file I opened was an email dated just yesterday. Kyle was promoting Jason to Deputy Director of Marketing. The email outlined a plan to lock things down and secure the operation, now that Jason would have higher clearance. They were expanding. I encrypted everything and sent it to Mr. Torres with a coded message. Phase 1 complete. Bigger than expected. Kyle announced Jason's promotion during the Monday morning meeting. Everyone clapped. Champagne appeared from somewhere, against company policy, but Kyle didn't care about rules. To Jason, Kyle shouted, raising his plastic cup. The smartest guy in this department. They popped the bottles in the conference room, making a mess. After the celebration, Kyle pointed at me. "Clean this up, coffee girl." I nodded and waited until everyone left. Then I started collecting the trash. That's when I saw it, a crumpled piece of paper in the recycling bin. I smoothed it out.
It was a draft contract.
Jason's new role included a consultant retainer fee of $5,000 monthly, paid to an entity called JP Advisory Services. I'd never seen that company in our vendor system. I took a photo and tucked the paper into my folder. As I was leaving the conference room, Kyle appeared in the doorway. His eyes locked on the paper in my hand. "Just trash, coffee girl," he said slowly. "Throw it away." "Of course," I replied, smiling. But I'd already photographed it. That night, I analyzed every fake invoice I'd collected. I noticed something strange, a tiny formatting error that appeared on multiple documents. Every dollar amount had a space before the period. Like this, $15,000 instead of $15,000. It was a small mistake, easy to miss. But it was consistent. I searched the entire company's shared drive using that specific formatting error as a keyword. 12 documents appeared, spanning 18 months. Contracts, invoices, budget reports, all with the same typo. I checked the metadata on each file. Every single one was created on Kyle's computer, using his login credentials. He'd been sloppy. Criminals always were, eventually. I compiled everything into a detailed report. The ghost vendors, the formatting errors, the metadata, Mia's files, the voice memo, the USB data from Kyle's computer. I encrypted it and sent it to corporate headquarters. Subject line: Phase 1 complete. Mr. Torres replied within an hour. Excellent work. Phase 2 begins now. Maintain cover. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a moment to like this story and also hit the subscribe button to get notified of our new series. I closed my laptop and exhaled slowly. The trap was set. Kyle insisted the whole team go bowling on Friday night. To bond, he said. I didn't want to go, but refusing would have been suspicious. The bowling alley was loud and smelled like fried food and old shoes. Kyle bought round after round of drinks. By the third round, he was drunk and sloppy, his words slurring together. He pulled me aside near the bathroom hallway, leaning against the wall for support. "You know why I'm successful?" he asked, not waiting for an answer. "Because I run this place. The auditors? They'll never find anything." "Why not?" I asked innocently. He laughed, tapping his chest. "Because I am the control system. I approve the expenses. I verify the vendors. It's beautiful." I nodded like I was impressed. My phone was in my jacket pocket, recording everything. He kept talking, bragging about how easy it was to manipulate people, how corporate was too busy with big picture stuff to notice his operation. By the end of the night, I had 20 minutes of audio, him admitting to everything. When I got home, I backed up the recording in 3 different locations. Insurance. Monday morning, Kyle dropped a stack of invoices on my desk. Enter these into the system. Backdate them to last quarter. I'll approve them later. I looked at the invoices. They were from the ghost companies, Apex, Cornerstone, Brightwave. Tens of thousands of dollars each. Backdate them. I asked, pretending not to understand.
Yes.
Make the date say October 15th. Just change it in the system. He was impatient, like he'd explained this 100 times. Okay, I said quietly.
He walked away.
I entered every invoice exactly, as he instructed. But corporate had taught me something useful, a special flag code. By adding a specific note in the memo field, I could mark these entries for immediate audit review. I entered the code on every single invoice. Kyle stood behind me as I submitted the last one, watching over my shoulder. Good girl.
See?
You're learning how things work here. I smiled up at him, just trying to be helpful. He patted my shoulder and walked away. What he didn't know was that every flagged invoice was now on corporate's radar, connected directly to his approval ID. The net was tightening. The next afternoon, Mia came to my desk in tears. Her mascara was running, and her hands were shaking. He knows, she whispered. Kyle knows I've been asking questions. He pulled me into his office and threatened me. Said he'd fire me and make sure I never work again. My heart broke for her. She'd been brave, and now she was paying for it. I made a decision that broke protocol. I pulled her into the empty conference room and closed the door. Mia, I need you to listen to me carefully, I said. I'm not a temp. I'm a forensic accountant from corporate.
I was sent here to investigate Kyle.
You're not in trouble. You're protected. Her eyes went wide.
What?
Everything you gave me is being used as evidence. Kyle is going down. But I need you to stay strong for just a little longer. She hugged me, sobbing into my shoulder. When will this be over? Soon, I promised. Very soon. I reported Kyle's threat to Mr. Torres immediately. Witness intimidation was a serious offense. The timeline accelerated. Corporate moved the final phase up. It was happening. I needed one more piece of evidence, something undeniable. So I sent Kyle an email, carefully worded. Hi Kyle, I think I made a mistake entering those invoices you gave me. Should I delete them and start over? I waited. 10 minutes.
20.
Then his response came. No. Leave them exactly as they are. They're approved. Don't question my processes again.
Perfect.
He'd just admitted in writing that he'd ordered me to enter backdated invoices and that he'd approved them. I forwarded his email to Mr. Torres with 3 words, documented admission attached. His response was immediate. Audit team arrives Monday, 8 a.m. Maintain position. I sat back in my chair, my heart pounding. This was it. After 3 weeks of playing the coffee girl, of swallowing my pride, of watching Kyle bully people, it was finally ending. I spent the weekend reviewing every piece of evidence, making sure nothing was missing. Monday morning was going to change everything. Monday arrived. I got to the office early and made coffee, like always. Kyle came in at 9, looking relaxed and confident. At 9:15, 2 people in dark suits walked through the department doors. They carried briefcases and had badges clipped to their belts. Kyle looked up from his computer. The color drained from his face. Who are you? He asked, standing up slowly. The taller one spoke first. Corporate audit team. We'll need access to all financial files and your office. Immediately. Kyle's eyes darted around the room. Everyone was staring. Then his gaze landed on me, standing by the coffee station with a tray in my hands. His face changed. Understanding washed over him like cold water. You, he said, his voice barely a whisper. I met his eyes but said nothing. You set me up, he said louder. You lied to us. The audit team stepped between us. Sir, we need you to come with us.
Now.
Kyle pointed at me, his hand shaking. She's a liar. She pretended to be. A forensic accountant? I said calmly. I never lied. You just assumed. Security arrived. Kyle's face turned red as they escorted him toward the elevators. Kyle broke free from security for just a moment and cornered me in the hallway. His face was inches from mine, his breath hot and angry. You set me up, he hissed. You lied about who you were. I stood my ground, meeting his eyes without flinching. I didn't lie. You just assumed. People always assume. You pretended to be. I pretended nothing. I made coffee because you told me to. I entered invoices because you ordered me to. I did exactly what you asked. My voice was steady. You did this to yourself. Security grabbed his arms again, pulling him back. You'll regret this, he shouted as they dragged him toward the elevator. You have no idea who you're messing with. The elevator doors opened. As they pushed him inside, he was still shouting my name, or what he thought was my name. The doors closed. The hallway went silent. Everyone in the department was staring at me. Mia stood near her desk, tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. I set down the coffee tray and pulled out my real ID badge. I'm Special Investigator Williams from Corporate Forensic Accounting, I said to the room. Thank you for your cooperation. Then I walked into the conference room where the real work was about to begin. The audit team set up their equipment in the conference room, laptops, boxes of files, recording devices. I handed over everything, my tablet with all the photographs, Mia's flash drive, the recordings from the bowling alley, the flagged invoices, the USB clone of Kyle's computer files. The lead auditor, a woman named Patricia, reviewed everything in silence. She took notes, cross-referenced documents, and listened to the audio files with headphones. After 2 hours, she looked up at me. This is the cleanest field audit we've ever received. Textbook work. Every piece of evidence is documented, time-stamped, and verified. Thank you, I said. But, she added, her expression darkening, we found something else while accessing Kyle's computer network. My stomach dropped. What? Another department. The financial division. And it's bigger. She turned her laptop toward me. Kyle wasn't working alone. The deputy CFO, Mr. Castellano, was taking a cut. The fake vendors don't just route to Kyle, they route to an offshore account connected to 6 different departments. I stared at the screen. The web of fraud was massive. How much? I asked. Preliminary estimate? 3 million. Maybe more. Patricia closed her laptop. We need you to go undercover again. Different building. Higher stakes. She paused. This one's dangerous. Castellano has connections. Political ones. I took a deep breath. When do I start? While the investigation expanded, Mia was called in to give a formal statement. She sat across from Patricia and 2 lawyers, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Tell us everything, Patricia said gently. Mia did. She named names, people Kyle had threatened, people who knew about the fraud and stayed quiet out of fear, people who'd helped him cover his tracks. She handed over more evidence she'd been keeping, printed emails, handwritten notes from meetings, even photographs she'd taken of documents Kyle had left on his desk. By the end of her testimony, 3 more managers were put on leave pending investigation. When Mia walked out, she looked exhausted but relieved. Later that week, she came to find me. They offered me Kyle's job, Regional Marketing Director. That's amazing, I said. You deserve it. She hesitated. Will you stay and help me clean this up? I don't know if I can do it alone. I thought about the new assignment waiting for me. The deputy CFO. The bigger investigation. I have to move on to something else, I said honestly. But you won't be alone. You have a good team. Just give them the chance, Kyle never did. She nodded, tears in her eyes. Thank you. For everything. We hugged, and I walked away knowing she'd be okay. Corporate wanted complete silence. No press releases, no internal announcements, no explanations. Kyle was being charged criminally, but the case was sealed while they built the larger investigation around Castellano. I walked through the department one last time before my reassignment. People nodded at me differently now, not with the dismissive glances I'd gotten as the coffee girl, but with respect. Some even smiled. Jason, Kyle's friend who'd been promoted, was at his desk packing his belongings into a cardboard box. He'd been placed on administrative leave too. The phantom consulting fees had been traced directly to him. He didn't look at me as I walked past. His hands were shaking as he threw files into the box. I felt no satisfaction watching him, just sadness that so many people had chosen the wrong path. At the exit, I turned back one last time. The department looked different now, lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. Mia caught my eye from across the room.
She waved.
I waved back. Then I walked out. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a moment to like this story and also hit the subscribe button to get notified of our new series. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're next. Watch your back. I screenshotted it immediately and forwarded it to corporate security. Security called me 20 minutes later. We traced that number. It's registered to Jason Palmer. The text was sent from the parking lot outside your building. Is he still there?
I asked. No.
But we've notified local police. This qualifies as witness intimidation. 2 hours later, I got a call from Mr. Torres. Jason was arrested this afternoon. They found more texts on his phone, threats to other potential witnesses, including Mia. Is she safe? I asked immediately. We've assigned her protection. She's fine. Jason will be charged separately. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt tired. This case had exposed so much corruption, hurt so many people. Take a week off, Mr. Torres said. You've earned it. The Castellano investigation doesn't start until next month. I don't need. That's an order, Williams. Rest. Clear your head. I spent that week at home, sleeping late, reading books, avoiding the news. I needed to remember who I was outside of undercover work. But by day 5, I was restless. I missed the job, the puzzle solving, the justice. I called Mr. Torres. I'm ready. He laughed. I knew you would be. See you Monday. 6 months later, I sat in a closed courtroom wearing a business suit. Kyle's trial had finally arrived. The room was small, with no gallery, everything sealed from public record. Kyle's lawyer, an expensive-looking man in a tailored suit, stood up for cross-examination. Isn't it true, Miss Williams, that you deceived my client? He asked. No, I said calmly. I was assigned undercover work by corporate. I never lied about my employment. But you pretended to be a temporary assistant. I was assigned to that role. My badge was legitimate. My employment was legitimate. You manipulated my client into trusting you. I made coffee and entered data. Your client chose to commit fraud. The lawyer's face reddened. Your Honor, this witness is clearly biased. Counsel, the judge interrupted. The witness is answering your questions. Move on. The lawyer tried different angles, but the evidence was overwhelming. The fake vendors, the voice recordings, the emails, the backdated invoices with Kyle's approval signature. Finally, the judge spoke. Mr. Hayes, you've been found guilty of embezzlement, fraud, and witness intimidation. Sentencing will be held next month. Kyle's face was blank, empty. As they led him away, he looked at me one last time.
No anger.
Just defeat. I felt nothing. A year later, I was back at corporate headquarters. My undercover assignment with the deputy CFO had ended successfully. Castellano was now in federal prison, along with 4 other executives. I'd been promoted to senior forensic investigator. One morning, a junior analyst named Tasha brought me coffee without asking. She set it on my desk with a bright smile. 2 sugars, no cream, right? I looked at the coffee, then at her eager face. She was young, probably fresh out of college, trying to be helpful. I appreciate the thought, I said gently, but I'll get my own coffee. You're an analyst, not an assistant. She blushed. Oh, I just thought. I know, but your time is valuable. Use it for analysis, not coffee runs. She nodded, looking relieved. Thank you. After she left, Mr. Torres appeared at my door. Got a minute? Always. He sat down, sliding a folder across my desk. We have another situation. Regional office, Southwest Territory. Numbers aren't adding up. I opened the folder. Financial discrepancies. Ghost vendors. Pattern of fraud. Interested? He asked. I smiled. When do I start? 2 weeks later, I walked into a new building in a different city. The operations department this time, not marketing. Different people, same patterns. The department manager, a man named Vincent, sat at the main desk. He was talking loudly on the phone, laughing at his own jokes. I approached with my tablet and temporary ID badge. He glanced up, barely looking at me. "Oh, good, the temp's here." He waved his hand dismissively. "Get me a coffee. Black, no sugar. And make it quick, I've got calls to make." I smiled. The same assumptions. The same arrogance. The same underestimation. "Of course," I said politely. I turned toward the break room, already scanning the office layout, noting the positions of computers, filing cabinets, and the document shredder in the corner. Vincent went back to his phone call, already forgetting I existed. I reached the break room and pulled out my phone, texting Mr. Torres. Day 1. Subject has made contact. Beginning documentation. His response was immediate. "Good luck. We're counting on you." I made the coffee, breathing in the familiar smell. Then I carried it back to Vincent's desk. "Here you go," I said, setting it down. He didn't say thank you, just took a sip and waved me away. I walked to my temporary desk in the corner, the one with the perfect view of the entire office. I sat down and opened my tablet, pulling up the pre-audit files. Vincent's division had lost over $600,000 in the last 18 months. Ghost vendors, inflated contracts, mysterious consulting fees. I watched Vincent laugh on the phone, completely comfortable, completely confident that no one was watching. Just like Kyle had been. Vincent hung up and noticed me looking in his direction. "What are you staring at? Don't you have filing to do, or something?" I smiled politely. "Actually, I'm here to review your last 2 years of expenses." Full departmental audit. His smile froze. "What?" I pulled out my real ID badge and set it on the desk. "I'm Senior Forensic Investigator Williams from corporate. But I can start with coffee if that helps you relax." The color drained from his face. His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I don't understand." "You will," I said calmly, opening the first file on my tablet. "We'll start with your vendor relationships. I have some questions about Apex Solutions." He went completely pale. That was one of his ghost companies. "How did you?" "I'm very good at my job," I said simply. "Now, shall we begin? Or would you like to call your lawyer first?" He didn't answer. He just stared at me in shock, finally understanding what was happening. I'd done it again. And I'd keep doing it for as long as fraudsters thought they could get away with it. Because they always underestimated the coffee girl. And that was always their biggest mistake.